You got a problem there?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, I'll fix that for you.
Oh, really? That's a lot better, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hey everyone, welcome to GameGorgon. My name's Indigo.
And I'm Krug.
And today we're going to be talking about Pathfinder playtest intelligence.
Yeah, something I don't have.
Yep, that...
Intelligence is a really simple concept, because you all know what it is already. It's just your ability to reason and learn. That's exactly what it is in Pathfinder. And that's why it helps you do things like recall knowledge, and why it helps you do things like learn spells and stuff like that.
The first thing that we're going to be talking about is Arcana. And the first thing that you can do within Arcana that is untrained is recall knowledge.
Yep, so we're gonna, since there are a couple of exceptions for recall knowledge when it comes to talking about lore, we're gonna talk about recall knowledge when we talk about lore a little bit later in this video. Next up is borrow an arcane spell. If you are a prepared arcane spellcaster, you can borrow a spell from another arcane spellcaster's spellbook. And in order to do that, you have to make a borrow a spell check. The table for the DC for this check is right here, and it's on the page that's listed on this little slide that we have in front of you. A couple notes about this. This does not allow you to prepare spells outside of your domain. You have to be able to cast arcane spells to do this. It does not allow you to prepare spells for which you do not have the spell slot. You have to still have a spell slot for it. And it doesn't allow you to prepare spells outside of your normal preparation time. You still have to be doing this during prep.
So basically, it's only good for wizards and wizards.
Yeah. As of now, they might add more.
On a success, you prep it. Like, it's...
Good job.
You do the thing.
Yep.
Congratulations.
On a failure, you don't get to prepare the spell, but that spell slot is still available for you to use in other ways. You can't attempt to prepare that same spell, the one that you tried to borrow, until the next time you prepare spells. So you can't just spam this roll
over and over
again. You can only attempt it once per spell. And yeah, that's it.
The next trained thing that you can do with Arcana is identify magic, which is you make this check to determine of some sort of magical effect that is going on. The GM is going to set the DC based off of this chart.
It's the same one as last time.
Yeah, so it's, you know, it's gonna repeat the same information.
If you're trying to identify magic that's affecting an item or a location, you get, and this is a quote from a book, a sense of what it does, as well as how it's activated. Now, I think they used a sense of what it does to kind of leave it open to the GM to be like a little more vague if they want to be a little more vague, which I love, thank you.
Yeah, it's not like you know the spell and the exact level,
Yeah.
It's just like, you know that there is an evil presence on this door,
or like,
and that it's triggered by the handle.
Or like you feel like, maybe like a vague premonition, like you feel heat.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
is it gonna make the room warmer or is it a fireball?
Yeah, exactly. That's cool, I dig that.
If it's an ongoing effect, presumably something affecting a sentient thing is what I'm getting out of this. You learn the name of the spell and what it does exactly, like boom, boom, boom. And another part of a success is that you can't attempt the check again to get a critical success. You can only try once per thing, it seems like.
Now, with a critical success, you learn all of the attributes about the magic
Everything.
that's being used, and if it's cursed or not.
Nice. On a failure, you fail to identify the magic and can't try again for 1 day. I am almost certain you can't try again with that same thing for 1 day.
Now, I like the critical failure, which,
Do it.
as a GM, I might put this as just the failure as well, which is if you critically fail, you misunderstand what the spell is, and the GM gets to choose. So that heat that you originally, you know, like that you felt, well, you critically fail. Well, you know what? It's actually just a nice, you know, light spell.
You you feel the weight of coins on you, just casually running down your body. Next up is learn an arcane spell. This is different from borrowing a spell because using this method, you can add a spell to your repertoire.
This is also a trained specific
This is
spell.
also very trained. You can make this check against another character's book, or you can make this check against a scroll. This is a little complicated, so try and keep up. There's a lot of things you gotta do to make this work.
You have to spend 1 hour per spell level to either talk to the person that's teaching it to you or reading it from a book or a scroll.
I can imagine some very funny conversations to roleplay if you're doing the conversation. Just like, so tell me about Fireball. Well, you see, It shoots fire.
For 4 hours.
You have to have a number of magical materials equal to the cost shown on this table on page 146.
On a success, guess what? You learn the spell.
Yep, this is like a full-on paragraph in the book that basically boils down to you learn the spell.
Yeah, exactly. And they went into detail of like, for each one, it's like, if you have a book, it's now in your book.
Good job.
Thanks, I figured that. No, it's on a sticky note.
On a critical success, it's the same as a success, except for you only spend half of what you were supposed to have spent according to the table.
On a fail, you not only fail to learn the spell, but you also can't attempt to relearn that spell until you level. But the good thing is you don't expend the costs of what you were originally going to do. That's a little rough.
Yeah, but I do think that the roughness of not being able to attempt it again until you gain a level is offset by you don't waste the materials. So you could use the materials to learn a different spell at the same level.
Or I wonder if how that works with scrolls as well, because it's like, are you expending the scroll when you're learning from it?
No, actually.
Okay.
I don't think you are. It doesn't say that you do.
Good.
On a critical failure, it's the same as a failure. You don't learn the spell, you can't try again until you level, and you waste half of the materials because you're really bad at this and you should probably stop.
The difference between fail and critical fail, not enough, but the difference between success and fail is big.
Yeah.
The next train thing you can do is read magic. Guess what it does? It allows you to read magical writing.
Nice. I think earlier this episode I said that we implied that magical writing had magic in it, but I think we're doing that right now actually, because this is where I found that out, because you can read magic in a language that you don't understand, which implies to me that there is some sort of magical nature to the text itself.
Sure.
That's where I'm getting that from. On a success, you can read.
On a critical failure, you can't read it. All right, if you like our shirts as much as we do, you can head down and see the description. It's Void merch. They sent us these for free, and they're pretty awesome.
They are very great. All right, that's the end of Arcana. Now we're on to crafting, where you make stuff, break stuff, and shake and bake stuff.
I guess if you're making shake and bake chicken.
Yeah, it's a crafting check. Next up is repair, where you get to spend 1 hour trying to remove a dent from an item. If you're confused about how dents work, go to our armor video and then go to the patch 1.4 video, and then that's all the information that you need about dents.
You also need, with this repair, you also need a repair kit.
True value.
Yeah. Now, if you succeed at this repair, you get to remove 1 dent.
If you critically succeed, you fully restore the item like it's brand spanking new. It has the little new car air.
It smells like new car.
Freshener, yeah. Even if it's a sword.
If you critically fail it, guess what? You dent the item. Yeah. But if it's a magical item, you can't destroy it from this
Which does successfully imply that if it is not a magical item,
yeah,
you can destroy the item yourself by trying to repair it.
I think this is kind of where it comes with the untrained aspect of it. That you're like
you can try.
Well, because like you're like, okay, if I'm wearing full plate, I'm not trained in crafting, and I have a dent in it, theoretically it would be a legitimate dent.
Yeah.
And you're like, all I gotta do is hammer it out, and then you're like, boom, and you hammer right through
the hole.
You're like,
just this big old barbarian just smashing a hole in his own chest.
Well, I can't repair that.
Next up is crafting. Remember when we said that something in Arcana was gonna take a long time? Crafting's way worse. For crafting, your goal is to make a new item. This is how you go about doing it. It's hard, just sorry.
Oh, you this. Okay, so.
Yeah, we're just gonna read it.
So if you want to craft something, the GM sets the DC based off of the following pieces of information.
Level of the item.
Quality of the item.
Rarity of the item.
And whatever else the DM wants.
Because that's how DMs work.
At that point, just be like,
the DM sets a DC.
Yeah, like.
Well, no, because these are guidelines, but then, like, what if a plot point is making it harder?
I guess they're like, oh,
they want
cold
you to,
steel isn't a thing in this world.
They want you to. We're not done.
Okay, all right.
It's not even close to done.
Other requirements: the items must be at your level or lower.
You must be adequately proficient with the item relative to its quality per the item quality table on page 190.
Here. You must have the formula if it is a potion.
You need tools, like a forge for blacksmithing. That's just one example. If you're leatherworking, you can't do it at a blacksmithing forge.
You must have the raw material equal to half the item's price.
If it's a snare, a potion, or a magic item, you can't do it with crafting alone. You need a feat to enable it.
Unless otherwise stated in a feat, you need a number of downtime days equal to 4 minus the number of levels lower than yours that the item is, minimum 1, unless you choose not to. We'll get into this later. We're running out of breath.
That's what I wrote. He doesn't
Yep.
have to read the whole thing, but that's what he did.
I'm running out of breath.
This is still really difficult. We're on to how the results. Sorry. We're still, bear with us.
Now that we have gotten over the requirements,
Yeah.
this is
This is all the complicated stuff about the results.
Yeah.
On a success, you make the item. You can either,
okay. There's a requirement to this.
yes, you can either spend the remaining half of the price for the item to complete it immediately, or work on the item more for each additional day that you work on the item. And remember, we set the base time requirement in the requirements. For each additional day that you work on it, it reduces the cost of the item by the amount listed in the in the crafting progress per day table on page 148. That is an actual table in the book.
Here.
So it is possible to reduce the amount of additional, I'm gonna put this back. It is possible to reduce the amount that you spend on the item to 0 more, basically.
Yeah.
You spent half up front. You can spend the other half and finish it in your number of days, or you can just keep working and not have to give that other half of the resources up, which is, I think, a great mechanic. It's a shame that the rest of it's very complicated.
Yeah, I guess because they're wanting the DM or the GM to sit there and be the one that gives them items versus the players like, I'm making my full plate, I'm making my sword,
Yeah.
I'm making this, I'm making that. And
It worked. I'm not going to craft items.
Yeah, and it also, I mean, at least for me when I'm GMing, I build my crafters with feats and stuff like
Yeah.
that and how they work. And so I use those requirements whenever players want a very specific item.
Yeah, like I don't have that in stock, but I can make it for you.
It's going
for
to take
a price.
this price plus like 100%.
Yep.
And it's going to take me this amount of time.
Yep.
So then I've got time to either throw a wrench in the middle of it, or say you've got to go do questing between now and then
Yeah.
to be able to get this item.
Yeah. To me, this feels like a good way to waste a play session. Is crafting items.
Sure.
Like, no offense. I know a lot of you are going to get super into crafting, but I'm not.
Well, and I mean, something that Josh does is at the beginning of every session, he says, okay, you guys were off for a week. What did you do?
Yeah.
And then you just explained for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
what
the
you
problem is this requires rolling and stuff.
Yeah, well, I know, but we do things like in D&D 5e with the downtime mechanics,
yeah.
we would also roll.
Oh, okay. And that's what I'm saying. I think this is too many.
I don't know.
Too many bits. Too many moving parts.
It's a lot.
We're not even done with it.
On a critical success, it's very similar to success, but for each additional day that you spend, it's considered to be as if you were 1 level higher.
On a failure, you don't craft the item, but you get the full value of the materials back. So you don't waste any money, you just wasted lots of time.
With critical failure, it's just like failure, except for you lose 10% of the cost of the materials.
Yeah, which is almost nothing at lower levels, but higher levels, that could be a pretty large chunk of change.
I don't know, it's all, I mean, that still could be a lot because you don't have a lot.
That's true, yeah, they scale together, but I think...
Theoretically.
Yeah, but like end game, you're never going to be getting more money than you are. It's going to flatline. So if you're spending all of your money end game, it's going to take you a while to build it back up.
And this is the crazy thing for me is I can't see a high level crafter in the world.
Sure.
And the reason I say that is because it's not worth those feats. You're literally like...
And it's not even not worth the feats, it's the things that you're killing did the crafting for you. You just take it off their corpses at that point.
Yeah, unless you're playing like a very hyper-realistic game where there aren't crafters in the world, but there are materials.
Or maybe it's like a post-apocalyptic thing where like everything's basically broken.
Yeah.
So you're very, very valuable. I don't know.
The next trained ability is Identify Alchemy. It is separate than Identify Arcana because...
because alchemists are their own strong independent classes. They don't need no casters.
I mean... Yes. You spend 10 minutes with alchemist tools to determine what the potion does. That's it.
The DC of the check is 10 plus the item's level, which is way easier than crafting.
With a success, you know what the item does.
On a failure, you learn nothing, but you can try again.
On a critical failure, you misidentify what this potion does.
It's honey. It's just honey.
It's definitely a healing potion. Acid.
1d4 health. They'll give you 1d4 health. Lore is a little bit unique in that it's not fully fleshed out in the book. There are some baseline lore categories listed in the background section, like warfare lore and stonemason lore, whatever.
Sure.
I don't know all of them. But the GM can also allow you to take your own custom segment of lore with a couple of caveats. It can't overlap or encompass any existing lore category.
Okay.
With lore, you can recall knowledge.
This is an untrained action.
Yes, an untrained action.
With recall knowledge, you learn a piece of information about what you're trying to recall. We're trying to regain information.
Yeah.
And again, this portion of it is a part of a lot of other things within intelligence.
Exactly. We already talked about Arcana.
Exactly. And it's just basically, I want to learn more about this piece of information. Or, hey, is this a shady situation? Or is this, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
And you can use recall knowledge to try to get more information about it.
Yeah, I think a good example is like warfare. Like if you are in a campaign that uses warfare and you're looking at a formation, you can roll a recall knowledge for your lore warfare to figure out if the formation is aggressive or defensive. Like, what is the army going to do next based off of this formation?
Or possibly ways to counteract it.
There are tons of ways to use recall knowledge. It is, I think, hands down, one of the most open skills, and therefore one of the most entertaining and engaging skills, both for the DM and the player. Because the players are going to inevitably give a DM an idea that they didn't think of using recall knowledge. The DM can feed off of that. On the flip side, when the player asks a question, the DM is inevitably going to give the player a response they didn't expect at one point or at some point. And that just makes it so fun for both parties. Like, I love it. On a success, you member.
On a critical failure, you recall erroneous pieces of information.
Yeah, which is our favorite way to f with players. Hey, remember when we were talking about crafting and we said it was too complicated? Just kidding. It's practice a trade, which is our next piece of lore. The next action you can take with lore. You do it during downtime.
Only time you can do it, yeah.
Practicing a trade is basically a way for you to make money or to accomplish other goals related to the lore that you're familiar with. You can use lore to gain the practical benefits of your knowledge. The GM's going to present you with a list of readily available tasks that you can take on for your lore. So for example, if you have lore warfare and the general needs help designing a cannon or something. I don't know. Maybe that would be more of a crafting thing.
Or you could just read the example you wrote.
Oh, I did write an example. Man, I'm smart. For example, a character with sailing lore gets a gig consulting on a fleet construction project. Man, that's a great example.
The GM sets the DC, which also sets the amount of money that you can make per the skill income table on page 153 right here.
If you're not interested in what the GM has to offer you, you can spend days of your downtime looking for additional work.
After you accept a job, you roll your lore check per day of the job. The GM determines how long the job will take.
On a success, you don't f it up. You gain money equal to this table.
If you critically success, you tell everyone to go shove it because you're the best at it. You also are considered to be one level higher based off of the chart.
Yeah, when calculating your income. On a failure, you kind of suck at whatever it is that you tried to do, and they only pay you the minimum, so you use the failure column on the table that you use to calculate your income.
On a critical failure, you just flat out fucked up, and you don't get paid nothing. In fact, they're probably gonna sue you for how bad of a job you did on it.
Legit, you get fired. You cannot attempt to work with those people. And the book even says they might spread the word to other companies that do similar things in their general vicinity because you're that bad. Occultism. This is the easiest one we're going to do all day. Go back and watch the Arcana part. But every time we say Arcana, replace it with occultism. And every time we say Arcane, replace it with occult.
The other key thing is after you rewatch the Arcane part, you have to go to the lore part to learn about the
Yeah, that's true. Look. Shut up. We know. Don't make fun of us in the comments down below.
Or do.
Or do.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Society. The first skill that you can do is recall knowledge, which is an untrained single action ability. And guess what? You go back to the lore section and you watch the recall knowledge part because it's the same thing.
It is the same thing. Next is subsist on the streets. I think this one is weird. Basically, you're trying to get by as a homeless person, and this is the check to help you get by as a homeless person.
Is it like subsist on the streets, but like...
Nope, don't even You're basically rolling a DC against your environment. So if you are in an affluent area where they throw away tons and tons of food because it's not perfect, has a small little bruise on it, it's probably going to be a pretty low DC because you can just go eat that. But if you're in somewhere like urban but not very well off, where they like, you know, are hoarding or rationing or something, it's going to be way
Or there's
harder.
like a famine going
Or
on.
a famine.
Yeah, the environment.
Exactly.
Environment can also consist of like weather, like the culture within the society that's going on. There's a lot of things that could go through.
Keep in mind, this is strictly for urban areas.
Yes.
You can't do this in a forest.
With a success, you find basic amounts of food, so you're able to
Shelter.
survive.
Yeah. On a critical success, you get basic food and shelter for you and another creature, or you get comfortable food and shelter for yourself.
Ooh. With a failure, you become fatigued until you can find some food.
On a critical failure, a group comes to try and flush you out because they don't want you living off of their streets. You don't find anything, and you take a -2 penalty for the next week to future checks to subsist off the streets. That's a little depressing.
Yeah, a little bit depressing, and reminds me that I live in LA. All right.
Too real, Hazel.
The last thing that you can do is create forgery. Now, this is a trained ability that you can attempt. Well, what is a forged document? It is you recreating a piece of a document. You recreate a document, and it's going to take time based off of how complex, and you're going to need the materials in which what it was originally created from.
Yeah, so for example, if the document's sealed with golden wax that costs 1,000 gold, you need to go find the golden wax that costs 1,000 gold, or make it, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not just trivial all of the time. Sometimes it's just like paper and ink.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah, sometimes it's just recreating the handwriting, or, you know, like you said, the seal, you know what I mean? And it's not necessarily that you have to find the golden seal.
Or
you might forge the golden seal with like a yellow wax with flakes of shimmery.
Shiny.
Yeah.
To forge a sample of somebody's handwriting, if the document requires that, like a specific person's signature, you need a sample of their signature. You can't just guess. That's not how signatures work.
Funny enough, I had to do this when I had to lie about my grades in high school.
Same.
The whole entire time.
Don't do that, kids. Statistically, none of you are children, so you probably are also saying same. Or you're smarter than us. Probably that one, actually.
Now, the GM is going to roll your society check. Now, if it is above 20, then people can only try to contest whether it's forgery or not using society itself.
Yeah.
Now, if it's below 20, people can use either society or perception.
And that's basically to represent the difference between this forgery is so good that in order to understand that it's a forgery, you have to know about the document. Like you have to know, oh, this line spacing's too wide. But like the casual observer won't know that. Whereas if you can contest with perception, the forgery is pretty bad. Like the seal is crooked. Like who does the seal crooked? You know?
Or they dot their I with a little heart instead of a dot. You get a dot.
Yeah. Once you roll that check, that is the roll that document uses for forever. It is that way for, like, new observers, you don't get to re-roll your society check. They get to roll a new contested society or perception check based on, you're basically setting a DC for the document when you roll this check.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
On a success, the forgery is undetected.
On a failure, everybody can tell that this is made with crayon. Why did you use crayon?
There is no critical success or critical failure on this. I feel that there should be a failure where it's like people immediately know.
Like this document is so badly forged that they don't have to roll anything.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
Yeah.
Honestly, as a GM, I would probably say that if the person's passive perception is above the DC of the document, they don't have to make a check.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's what I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, all right. We have finally gotten through all of the intelligence. I hope you managed to stick with us the entire time. This is probably one of our longest videos that we have made, but from what I can tell, all the other skills are significantly shorter. So, thank you.
Sorry, that was a real yawn.
So yeah, what should you guys do? You should go down in the comments and let us know, was there anything that we talked about that was too complicated, or you want more information on, or...
If you have any like smaller questions, you can just write the questions
Absolutely.
We'll just write you a message back.
Absolutely, yeah. We get back to like 99%. The only time we don't get back
That's not an accurate number, but... We try really hard. I
Yeah,
promise.
we do. We legitimately try to get back to as many people as we can. Sometimes it's like, it's 4 a.m. I'll do this later. And then we never do it.
Yep.
But while you're down there, make sure to hit the like button if you like the video. That really helps us out. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And if you are, please hit the bell icon. It actually sends you real notifications so that you know when our content comes
And
out.
it also helps us a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps that number go up and up and up. Anyways, and if you don't want to, well, you should do that. And then if you want to talk to us, you should talk to us on Twitter or Discord.
Yeah.
That information is down below. I just felt like it was a little punch in there. Talk to me on Twitter. You can talk to me there at IndigoQT.
You can get me at QueueQT on Twitter, and you can talk to both of us at the same time using all of these social media platforms, including Discord. You'll find them in the description. We've been GameGorgon. We'll see you guys next time.